Welcome to another edition of the A-List podcast. We are a little bit shorthanded tonight, but that's okay because we're going to do what we do. No Kwani Lunis. She's got a couple of other pressing engagements that she had to take care of, but me and Gary Washburn, we are going to hold it down, and we got quite a bit to talk about. Hey, Gary, how you doing?
Real good. Just I said, just got back from the West Coast, Los Angeles, and after a long road trip, probably one of the longest in recent memory for the Celtics, and with 5 cities, 6 games over 10 days, east to west. So yeah, Celtics return home 4-2. You know, everybody's a little fatigued, but now, as you know, everybody gets to stay home for a while. The Celtics are home until January 1st. Like they get all the time at home, Christmas, the day after Christmas, yeah. So
Kwanzaa, don't forget about Kwanzaa. We got
Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, all of the holidays they get to spend. At December 15th today?
Yeah.
15th or 14th? 14th. And so they're home for 17 days. So let's see what happens there.
Yeah, but you got to give them a lot of credit and give them props for earning the right to be home. When you look at the way that they've been playing throughout the course of the season, 22-7 overall record, the best record in the NBA right now. And obviously on that West Coast trip, as you mentioned, Gary, they went 4-2, a couple of losses that kind of raised an eyebrow or so because they didn't play their best games. But when you look at where this team's at, Gary, were you at all surprised that they went 4-2? Did you expect them to do better than that, worse than that, or about that?
I thought 5-1. Maybe I thought they would win the Clipper game or the Warrior game. I thought they'd win one of those two. I think people were thinking 6-0 after they went 3-0, and obviously that game, blowout win over the Phoenix Suns. But the Warriors are ready for them. The Warriors are very good at home, and the Clippers, you know what? They showed when they're healthy, when they're right, when they're almost healthy, they still didn't have Robert Covington or Norman Powell, that they're a pretty damn good club and going to be a force in the West because Kawhi was good. Paul George wasn't great, but he scored a lot. And then Marcus Morris, you don't really think much about him now. I mean, former Celtic, he was putting them down too, you know. So that's a 3-headed monster. And then you got guys like Reggie Jackson and John Wall and Zubac and all that. So I was a little disappointed in them for that performance against the Clippers. And they had a day off. They're supposed to be mad about losing to the Warriors, and they went out and just kind of never really gained any consistency in that game. And then started, the referee, started bitching at officials and that type of thing, and tripping about calls and that type. So you can't have that happen.
No, you can't let that happen. And you have to be a little bit more focused, a little bit more disciplined, and you need to play like a front runner. And I still think the Celtics, in many respects, is still adjusting to being the team that everyone gets up for. They've been able to beat teams for the most part with their shot making, but they really do have to do a better job of figuring out how to find that balance between being an impact scoring team with their shot making, but also elevating their play defensively. And obviously, we'll talk a little bit later about Robert Williams, but I wanted to, before we get into that, talk a little bit about Jayson Tatum, who really, we saw both the best and the worst of Jayson Tatum, I thought, on this road trip. There were nights where he looked like top 5 Tatum. And then there are other nights where you're just like, who the hell is that dude out there looking sort of kind of, but not really like Jayson Tatum? When you look at just his overall play out west, Gary, was there anything that concerned you about just kind of the highs and lows? Particularly, I want to talk specifically about the Golden State game, because that was the game that, of all the games on the slate this season, that was a game that I think so many people really expected him to kind of elevate his play, and that just didn't happen.
Yeah. I'm looking at the game logs from, the trip for Jayson. He 29 at Brooklyn, 31 at Toronto, 25 at Phoenix, but he only played 29 minutes. He was good. And then all of a sudden, those 2 games, Clippers, Warriors, he was a combined 13 for 41 shooting, 4 for 17 from 3. He did pull down 18 total rebounds, had 6 assists. but 38 total points in those two games. And he played 77 minutes in those games. So it wasn't like he got, he set out the fourth quarter when they were getting blown out. I mean, as we can talk about, Mazzulla plays these guys. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the minutes for Tatum on this trip, I'll go December. Let's go December. 41, 37, 39, 29 against Phoenix when he had to almost take those guys out. 40, 37, and then 44 in the overtime win against the Lakers. So he's getting his usage rate up. But I was concerned. I thought he just, teams are going to figure out, especially good coaches. Steve Kerr, Tyronn Lue, two of the top coaches in the league for strategy. So they figured out, put multiple bodies on Tatum, figure out how to, kind of frustrate him, make him a passer. And I think Tatum was really trying to get the three ball going in those games, not attacking the rim. If you look at his free throw attempts, he got to the line 4 times against the Clippers, 7 times. And then he mentally, in the Warriors game, Sherrod, he just wasn't right. He missed his first free throw of the game. Then he missed 2 key free throws when they were trying to make a run that could have cut the lead to 6 with like about 4 minutes left. And it kept it at 8. And I think the Warriors might have come back and hit a 3, and it was 11 again. And it was like, okay, then that's it. Like, Tatum can't go and miss both ends of the free throws. That's concentration. Tatum, when he's not shooting well, has got to find other ways to contribute defensively, rebounding. And rebounding, I think he has averaged, Sherrod, 10 rebounds this month. I'm looking at his December numbers. Okay, his numbers are not as gaudy as they were in November.
Right.
November, 32 points a game in November. December, 26 points now. But he's averaging 26 and 10 boards. 34.5% for the three-point line, but he's had a couple really poor three-point performances. 0 for 7 against Miami, 2 for 9 against the Warriors, 2 for 8 against the Clippers. But, he was brilliant against the Lakers. I mean, just carrying the team, 44, 9 and 6, 1 block. You know what I'm saying? So you see that he's becoming more consistent. All these guys, these superstars are going to have some shaky games.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest, Sherrod, like Devin Booker was terrible against the Celtics last week.
Terrible.
I mean, he was terrible. he was terrible. I love Devin Booker. He's terrible. Barkley impression, but he was bad.
Yeah.
So all these superstars, Giannis. I mean, the Bucks went down to Houston. And with John Lucas as coach, because the late, so Stephen Silas, his dad, the late Paul, right. We could talk about Paul Silas. Sorry, Sherrod, one of our favorite guys. I mean, that hurts. Oh my God, that hurts. It's not a lot we agree on, Sherrod, but
Paul Silas is
our affection for Paul Silas is one of those things we agree on. Yeah. I love that guy. I loved him as a coach. He was a no-nonsense. He got some famous lines that we cannot say on this podcast about saying some of his players and keeping it real and being that old uncle that kept it real and was about to choke you if you didn't do something you wanted to do. But Milwaukee went down there and lost to Houston, so right. Everybody has a bad game. So I'm not going to admonish Tatum for having consecutive bad games, but that was on a big stage. That Warrior game without Andrew Wiggins too.
Right. The one guy that seemed to give you more fits than most.
Not playing.
Right.
So, and Clay got into him. You know what I'm saying? And Clay is good. Clay was very good that day. And the the Celtics dropped defense where it's like, hey, Clay, dribble up and just shoot a 16-footer. We'll let you do that. That didn't work either. That wasn't a very effective strategy to let a shooter shoot. But if Tatum is going to if 20 points on, is a bad Tatum, I think you got to take that. One day he was scoring 9, and there's the other days, as we know, that it's going to be Jalen's night. Jalen 31 against the Warriors. Like Jalen showed up. So some days it's just going to be Jalen's night. Tatum doesn't always have to score 35 points. It's like get the boards, get a steal, make that right pass. If they're doubling you, like, what we saw against the Lakers was that they doubled him. And what did Jayson do early? He passed the ball to the cutter. He set up Jalen. He set up Blake Griffin on an easy layup. Like, he's like, all right, this is what y'all gonna do, because this is the strategy. This is what the scouting report says. Defend me. Well, I'm gonna burn you with the pass. That's all you want Jayson to do. I think he's getting better at that.
He's getting better at that, but to me, that game was an example of, I think, the balancing act that he is always going to be challenged with doing, and that is being that dominant elite scorer, but still making enough effort to get your teammates involved. And I think sometimes when he's playing on those really big stages, like against a team like Golden State, he's going to lean on what's comfortable as opposed to what's most effective. Comfort level for him is to keep shooting, because he knows that he can pretty much get any shot he wants against anyone out there. But that's not the recipe for success. That's not why these cats have the best record in the NBA. They got the best record in the NBA because Jayson Tatum can get you 25 and 10 on a bad night. And on a good night, he can get you 32 and 7 and get you 6, 7 dimes, 8, 9, 10 rebounds. And those other aspects, that's what really has separated him in many respects from some of the top players in the league. And along those same lines, Gary, he's been a guy that we talked about. I've been talking about top 5 Tatum all the way back to last season. But he legitimately is one of the top 3, top 4 players in the NBA at this point. When you look at his body of work, you look at the team's success, how do you think folks are going to view what they saw out west? Because, they were 4-2, but, he stunk against Golden State, if we're being honest and keeping it real. And he wasn't much better, if at all better, against the Clippers, two of the type of teams that when you get near the finish line in the postseason, those are the kind of teams that you're going to have to deal with in order to get to that last stage of the game, which is the NBA Finals.
Yeah, Sherrod, I think that his maybe, like that momentum took a hit. Like that Tatum is unquestionably an MVP of the league, took a hit because of those 2 games. Now he came back, national TV game, TNT, and dropped 44. I mean, that move against LeBron to tie the game,
that was special.
I don't know if I've seen that before out of him.
He went in his bag.
He dribbled right and then turned left away from the basket and then faded away. Usually, guys turn toward the basket or try to turn toward the basket. Tatum dribbled right, then turned away from the basket, spun and shot the fadeaway swish. Like, that's special. Yeah. So I think he got some of that reputation back Tuesday with the dropping the 44. But I do think the high profile games against the Warriors and the Clippers damaged a little bit. Now, you got plenty of chances. You got the Bucks coming in on Christmas Day. Right. Now, with Giannis showdown, that's what the folks are going to sell. Tatum against Giannis, the two of the top guys for the MVP, along with like a Luka in the league. So they're going to sell that. And what does Tatum do on that big stage? The only game in town at that particular time. There's no other games at that time slot. So everybody's going to be eating their Christmas dinner, watching that 5:00 game. We'll be there or whatever. But, everybody's going to be like, okay, because that's when
what you got.
Yeah, that's when people really start paying attention to the NBA, is those Christmas Day games. When people are casual fans. Now, it's going to be interesting because I think the NFL plays that day too. It's a Sunday. So it's going to be interesting to see how it competes with the NFL. But I also think people are going to be like, okay, what's this Jayson Tatum guy about? And, playing time. The Warriors come back to the Garden. So do the Clippers. So do the Lakers. So there's plenty of other marquee games for Tatum to show himself. And Tatum wasn't – I thought – I was more concerned about the Warrior game because of the mental. Like, Tatum got frustrated, and I said he missed those 2 free throws, and I was like, man, he just what? And then I said, I remember asking him the one play where he had an wide open 3, missed it, knew he was short, got his own rebound, went to the rim, missed the layup. And it's just like, man, it just ain't your night, Jayson. Like, and he just said, yeah, I just couldn't, like, I was like, damn, what's going on here? So, there's going to be games like that. I'm not going to judge him off of, we can go down the stat lines of Luka, Giannis, and those guys and look and go, wow, 10 points or, 12 points and 4 for 18. Everybody's got a bad night. I said that Devin Booker game. I mean, I thought he was. They were in his head early. He was. He got foul trouble. So, and Devin Booker's one of the top, 5 to 7 players in the league too. So it happens. Everybody gets humbled. It's a humbling league, as we know, Sherrod. Ain't everybody Michael. That's what makes Michael Jordan so damn great. Because Michael Jordan pretty much showed up every night. MJ was there every night. So, but I think Jayson, goes back to the lab, figures out how they were playing him, and, gets better. Because I think he's becoming more consistent. That, to me, averaging almost 10 rebounds this month, I mean, that's impressive. The 3-point line could be better and all that, but just he's starting to board. And the assist.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question that Tatum is still a good player. And bottom line, there's some nights where you're going to play like Ray Allen. Other nights you're going to play like Allen Ray. But it happens. It's part of being an NBA
Allen
player.
Ray alone, man.
Bottom line is this, though. Tatum is still, I think, a guy that most people would agree is when you're talking about the top-tier players in the NBA, Tatum is a safe bet for most, I think, any fan. I want to talk about a guy that, again, we really want to see him get it going. And that is Mr. Robert Williams. Had a chance to talk to him a few weeks ago. He seemed very upbeat, indicating he was going to be out there soon. We listened to Joe Mazzulla. He said, yep, he's day-to-day. And they go out west, and Rob is on a trip, and you're thinking, well, yeah, this will be good. The games were spaced out. It was a long trip. You figure, yeah, this might be a good time to throw him out there. There was no Rob Williams sighting other than what we saw on the sidelines during games and inside the locker room afterwards, having a good old time with his teammates. Were you surprised that we did not have a Rob Williams sighting in an actual game?
No, not at all. Nope.
Why?
Because one, all these games are high profile, big games. You're not going to throw him in. You're not going to throw him in for his return to get 15 minutes against the Lakers, the Clippers, or the Warriors. Okay, you're going to throw him in against the Magic. Okay, 2 low-profile games. The Magic are in Friday and Sunday. Perfect timing. An opponent that is going to play hard. Jamal Mosley has those guys playing hard. They got talent. Yeah. Paolo Banchero is a beast. Yeah. But it's a low-profile situation for Robert Williams. Then Indiana comes in. You might throw him in there. Then Minnesota without Karl Anthony Towns. Like, you got situations at home. He can get practice time because I'm sure, Sherrod, although the team was off today, the team is off Thursday, Robert Williams is still in the gym, putting in the work, getting close. So I think, and I said this before, predict it would either be Friday or Sunday against Orlando. Because that's that's what you want. Low profile situation. He doesn't have to travel, stretch of games at home. You're not playing a back-to-back. You give him the day off the next day, play him 15 minutes, bring him back slowly but surely. The whole Sherrod, you're not rushing him back. They don't need it. They're 22-7 without him. Okay, it's worked. If they were like 15-14, then it'd be like, well, you need the big dog back in the paint. But now you really don't, at this point, need to rush him. And you want to keep him ready for April. This whole regular season for him does not matter. The only thing you want Robert to do is to keep getting basketball shape, get sharp, and avoid injury. They don't need him to be Wilt Chamberlain in there. They have enough relief. Remember, they're also getting Al Horford back on Friday, right? Horford out for missed most of 5 of the 6 games with personal situation and health and safety. So now he's back on Friday. So they're going to get 2 big men back eventually. So, and I think, honestly, Sherrod, Blake Griffin's played well. Now, he ran out of gas against the Lakers.
Please qualify your answer about playing well, because I'm going to let you finish. But go.
I thought he played well. I thought he did what he's supposed to do. Like, what more are you asking for him to do?
Go ahead.
He rebounded. He hit a couple of threes. He picked up some fouls. Like, that's what you want Blake to do. I thought he played well, especially on a back-to-back. When's the last time that dude probably played a back-to-back? But they had to because they know they're bigs. But did he run out of gas? Was he not quite himself? Of course. Like in the third quarter against the Lakers or whatever, that when they made that run or whatever. But I thought he had a solid road trip. I definitely did.
Overall, yeah. But to your point, Gary, I like seeing Blake Griffin in very small doses. And the injuries forced the Celtics' hand to some degree to play him more. Well, I guess that's where I'm thinking about Rob. And if Rob is physically able to go and you're just holding him up because you want him to be in a low-pressure situation as he reintegrates himself with the team, forget that. We're trying to win some damn games so you can get home court. I would like to have seen Rob, if he were healthy enough to play, 10 minutes in any one of those games. 10 minutes. That to me because that's usually about 5 minutes or more where you're not going to have Blake out there. Because I think Blake has given them everything he can give them. And that's fine if you're getting it in small doses. But I thought this road trip exposed the fact that Blake, you've got to be, just like you got to be smart with managing other guys' minutes and things of that nature, you got to be smart about your contributions from Blake. I thought Blake, again, he gave you everything you got, but you need more. And if he can't give you more, and you got a guy who's healthy enough to give you more in small doses, which I think Rob at this point is healthy enough to play, you throw him out there for a few minutes. But
look, okay, Sherrod. Blake's numbers on the road trip. Okay. 9.2 points, 7 rebounds, 2.4 assists, 51% shooting. Like, that's not bad.
No, it's not bad.
Not bad at all. Like, that's what you'd expect. That's what you're going to get from a third center. Like, that's good. Like, against the Lakers, yep, he did not have a good game. 3 for 11. He shot too much. 3 for 11, 0 for 5 from 3 because they left him open. They were hoping he could knock some of those down. He hit 3 3-pointers in Phoenix, but
everybody was making shots in Phoenix. You got to throw that out. Everybody, you was making shots.
The last 2 games in LA, he was 3 for 14, 0 for 7 from 3, 11 points, but he also had 11 rebounds and 8 assists. Okay, over those 2 games. So 4 assists, like in limited time, 23 minutes and 21 minutes. That's what I think that's optimal. 9 points and 7 rebounds for Blake. I mean, really? I think they're giddy at that type of production. Over 20 minutes, 22 minutes. Okay, he had 13 and 8 against Toronto. He played 32 minutes, and that's the most he's played since he was with the Pistons. So, to me, I think he's done remarkably well. He played in 5 games on the road trip.
Right.
He didn't play in Brooklyn. Okay, he gave him, because Horford played in Brooklyn. He gave him solid minutes, solid production. Did he shoot well? No. 0 for 7 in the threes. But to me, he's giving you what he's got. Him and Cornette. So I don't think, and they're still winning. It wasn't his fault they lost against the Clippers or the Warriors. I mean, he went for 13 and 7 against the Warriors in 20 minutes. So it wasn't, Blake wasn't, got to the free throw line 5 times. So I'm not like blaming Blake. I think he's done remarkably well. Now, that's all you're going to get from him. To me, 23 minutes, 8 points, 6 rebounds. That's all you want. We all know Blake ain't Lob City.
Ain't jumping up no kids.
No. He tried to dunk on Zubac in L.A. He tried. He missed it. But shoot, he tried to get up. That would have brought down the house in L.A. because, they still got love for Blake there. So to me, I don't think you need to rush Robert back. And I think, as Mazzulla said, they want to make sure he's in back because we all know Sherrod, he's susceptible to injury.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, he plays 22 minutes, knee soreness. He's out a week and a half. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just don't want – you want him to work that knee and then to say, how's it feel, Rob? No pain. You do not want him saying, well, it kind of hurts, but I can still go out there and play. No. We don't need residual knee soreness. Now, he's going to have knee soreness just because he's had surgically repaired knees, but you don't want him out there laboring or trying to playing on one leg again. Like, make sure that leg is as strong as it can be.
Yeah, I mean, that's in a perfect world, that's what you want. And obviously, you you mentioned with Blake, he's playing. Listen, Blake's effort.
I know you don't like Blake. Well, let's be honest, you don't like Blake.
You know what it is? Good. First of all, I like Blake, Clippers Blake. I love that dude. That dude was
everybody loves Clippers Blake.
But I just don't like the fact that he is being put. I don't think that necessarily putting him in the best position to be successful, because we all know that there's a legitimate cap on what he can do out there, and you're exceeding that when you.
But that's what you get out of a third center. Like Luke Cornett has a cap. Like, you did not sign. Like you got Robert Williams, who gives you the best chance. Okay, you have Al Horford, who can play center, but it's mostly a 4. But as a third center, do you think Dwight Howard was going to give you more, or DeMarcus Cousins? I don't know, maybe. Dwight Scott doesn't have the physical limitations, as Blake does. But right. Dwight's also could be an issue in the locker room.
Yeah,
I think that's the one thing that Dwight is Dwight. He still think he Dwight. So what? Blake has that humility. We've all talked to Blake. Blake knows I know I ain't Lob City Blake. Yep, I'm here to win a chip. I'm here to help out. I know I'm like the 9th option. That's okay with me. You don't want Dwight in there talking about I need more touches. You don't want Dwight to, I need more lobs. You don't need that. And I'm not saying that. I know, in my dealings with Dwight, he's always been nice, and but I think there's a guy who still wants to be the man, So yeah, could Dwight had fared better? Yeah, but you also got to think about the locker room. So I think Blake is giving him all he's going to give him, all he can, and he's done a good job so far. I think he's played more than I think anyone would have imagined. I think that's for sure.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, Gary, I don't like that reality. I wish he played closer to like the 10, 15 minutes every now and then. But he's played in 13 games. He's had 8 starts, which is, I thought he'd have 8 to 10 starts all season. He's got 8 to 10 before we get to damn Christmas. And it's not like the team has had a significant number of blows to the front court. It's just that things have just worked out that way. Guys going to health and safety protocol and such matters like that. But Blake, I will say this: Blake has been an ideal teammate for this team. He's been a low key, bluish type of guy for what they needed in that specific role. I will give him that. He's been a good teammate, and one of our good teammates out there is Indeed.com. Speaking of teammates, pulling my Kwani Lunis right there. No one has a business like yours. With all its strengths and challenges, to succeed, you need a hiring partner that adapts to your needs. You need Indeed. Indeed is a hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed is a powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. Instead of, and again, find great talent faster through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. With Instant Match, over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job, according to Indeed data. Again, Indeed is just an amazing partner. When you sponsor with Indeed, again, in the U.S., you're 3 times more likely to get a hire, according to Indeed data. And even better, Indeed's the only job site where you only pay for applications that meet your must-have requirements. So start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/A-list. That's Indeed.com/A-list. Offer good for a limited time. Claim your $75 credit now. And again, at Indeed.com/A-list. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Now, what we need to do is talk about Mr. Joe Mazzulla. First of all, let me just get it right out there on Jump Street. Joe has done a hell of a job. When you look at the circumstances by which he became the head coach, you look at really just a lot of the noise that he had to kind of filter out and just focus on the job and the task at hand, which is to coach these guys. He's done a hell of a job. But he's not flawless. He's not perfect. There are parts of his coaching acumen that I think he needs to get better at. And I thought the Lakers game brought some of those shortcomings, things he needs to get better at to light. And I'm speaking specifically about his use of timeouts, Gary. There is no end of the year, you can't cash those timeouts in and get some kind of end of the season prize. He has a tendency to let his players play through runs. And he's explained in the past that he does that so they can get comfortable, so they can learn how to fight through that. But there are times, Gary, where you can kind of see that they're going to need some intervention other than their own ability to slow the bleeding. And Joe, I don't think he's developed a strong enough pulse for when he needs to do that and when not to. I'm just curious, what were your thoughts on just the use of timeouts in that Lakers game, and really just in a more broad sense as well?
Yeah, I thought you can't wait till the run gets to 18-0 to call a timeout.
Right.
Like you got to 8-10. Okay. That run got to 18. It was 88-74 Celtics. And then it was 92-88 Lakers. Okay.
With no timeouts on call.
No, he called a timeout when it was 92-74. The run got to 18-0. Okay. And then, and the Celtics looked a complete mess. It's one thing if you're playing the right way, you're just missing shots. The Celtics couldn't get the ball off the floor. They were turning over. They were taking bad shots. They were dribbling too deep into the paint. They were getting stripped. They were getting run. Lakers getting run out. LeBron looking like Cleveland LeBron with the dunks. Russ looking like OKC Russ. Lonnie Walker was getting in their ass. Like, it was like, okay, stop this. Joe, stop this. Either get some new guys in the game or just call a timeout. And he didn't until it got 92-88. Then he didn't call a timeout for the rest of the game. It got to 105-93. So it worked. Like Joe had two times. Joe, when the game went to overtime, Mazzulla had the Celtics had two timeouts left. And again, you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Freaking your boy, your dude, your main man, Darvin Ham, used all of his timeouts in regulation.
You're damn right.
The Lakers were damn near up the whole time. It's crazy. It's Joe does not like timeouts. And will that help? I think it will, but I think there's certain extreme situations that you have to call a damn timeout. Last night was one of them. They were inept. They couldn't get the ball up the floor. The crowd was all up into it. Grant making mistakes. Marcus trying to do Marcus, taking three. Like, it was like, this is the worst of the Celtics. Stop this. Stop the fight. Stop the fight. Like, you know what I'm saying? But there's Joe.
Yeah.
And, but then, they're down 13 with 3:40 left, and they come back to tie it. And he didn't call a timeout when the Lakers went up 13, 106-93. He did not call a timeout. They just played through it.
Yeah.
And then the Grant three, and then a lot of, some of the Laker writers were saying the key play was that Marcus Smart steal of the LeBron inbounds that cut it to 8. It was 106-93. Grant three, okay, 106-96, you're still up 10. Then boom, 106-98. Then all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh. Then, and we're not talking about our Lakers, our daddy's Lakers. We talking about these Lakers. Like, uh-oh, We up 5. It's a 2-possession game. Somebody about to choke. Trouble. So what happened? The Lakers choked it. Anthony Davis missed 2 free throws.
Right.
They got hesitant, and then they were tired. Like, I could see it. Like, first, Darvin Ham pulled a Mazzulla. He played AD and LeBron 40+. And them dudes like, bro, you know
who he is?
Yeah. He didn't play Kendrick Nunn no 40 minutes. None of them young dudes. Austin Reeves didn't play 40 minutes. He played his old guy, Russ, all them 40. And they were like, at the end of the game, they were done. Overtime, they were done. So I think Mazzulla has his own way. He's sticking by it. Now, will that end up burning him and burning the team in one game or two? We'll see. So far, it hasn't really burned them. I mean, there's 7 losses. We've all been like the overtime losses to Cleveland.
All right.
You could say he made some questionable coaching decisions there. The 2 at Chicago where they just they didn't. That's a bad matchup for them.
Yeah,
the Bulls,
it is.
That the game against Miami where Butler just hit a bunch of big shots, and then the 2 Lakers clip. So of their 6 losses, 4 have been not close.
Right.
3 have been overtime.
Yeah.
They had 3 overtime losses.
Yeah.
So you can't say it's not working.
No. My concern though, Gary, is that you and I we've seen enough playoff games to know that there's such a small margin for error when you get to the postseason. You look back at like the Brooklyn series where the Celtics swept them. I mean, that series could have easily been 2-2 rather than a 4-0 sweep. Possession here, possession there. I worry about Boston getting to the playoffs and having one of those games where they are on the short end of an 18-0 run where there's no timeout call, and then they wind up losing by like 4. And you start playing that what-if game, which you don't want to do because, again, I think what Joe does works well in a regular season. I'm not sure if giving them that much room to figure things out is going to work most of the time in the playoffs. My fear, again, is it's going to be the one game where it doesn't work in the playoffs, and that just happens to be, game 5 when it's a 2-2 series, and then you lose that game, you're down 3-2, and then you're going back to their place for game 6. That's my concern. But again, I will say this: if you look at the overall body of work that Joe Mazzulla has put together, as a coach in his first year of doing this thing, I mean, he has been, money in the bank. And speaking of money in the bank, you want to put a little money in your bank, check out our good friends with Rocket Money. Yes, Rocket Money. Are you wasting money on subscriptions? 80% of people have subscriptions they forget about. Maybe for you, it's an unused Amazon Prime account or a Hulu account that never gets streamed. There's this great app that I use that helps me track all of my expenses. And I used it yesterday. The cool thing about Rocket Money is that they have a rundown of all the different subscriptions that you have, and it gives you when they expire and just all the information you're going to want about them, and you can figure out if there's 1 or 2 or 22 that you don't need. And I found a couple that I had that I've completely forgot about, and I looked at how much I was having to take out of my account every month for them. And I'm thinking like, damn, I need to shut this down right now. And if not for Rocket Money, I would have never discovered that. And the cool thing about Rocket Money is that it allows you to not only have them take care of that for you, but if you want, you can go directly to the websites or call those companies that you have the subscription with and take care of it yourself. So Rocket Money is amazingly awesome. The app shows all your subscription in one place and cancels them for whatever you don't still want. Again, you can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. As I just mentioned, to cancel subscription, it's literally as simple as pressing cancel, and Rocket Money can take care of the rest. So get rid of those useless subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Go to rocketmoney.com/A-list. Seriously, it can save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/A-list. Cancel those unnecessary subscriptions right now. Once again, rocketmoney.com/A-list. So folks like Gary Washburn can go out and give me a good Christmas present because that's what Gary Washburn does. Right, G-Money? There you go. Now, back to the green team, as we were talking about. we're going to run around the NBA real quick and just take a look at some of the couple storylines there. I want to talk first about your boy Draymond Green. Gets a fan tossed in Milwaukee. I mean, granted, Golden State was getting that ass waxed in that game. Milwaukee was on it, just killing it. And we'll talk a little bit about one of the reasons why Milwaukee is killing it even more so lately. But just your thoughts when you see those type of stories where, you know, players, fans have a little tit for tat and then fans get tossed. I mean, how do you feel about that whole player-fan dynamic when it kind of gets a little bit more than just flapping gums?
Yeah, it's interesting, Sherrod. I mean, I think that it's just we live in a society today where people feel like they can be disrespectful, and then when you call them out on it, it's like, oh, I was just giving you a hard time. I wasn't like people like we've been at games and people just say things that are just like in RJ, you would never say to a pro athlete. You know, but you get people that just say anything. Like and I just think there's a general disdain from some fans about the money that these guys make, the lavish lives they live, and there's a jealousy there. So these guys are going to take their, have a couple of beers and go and give these guys, say some inappropriate things at times and whatever. And it sounded like Draymond got to a fan who was just like, I'm
going to kill you.
Yeah, threatening his life. Like, not everybody goes to NBA games as a model citizen. Like, some of these people go to NBA games got a past.
Leave my people out of this, Gary. Leave my people out of this.
They got a past. They can do some things. They ain't all model citizens, right? So I think it's an uncomfortable situation. Some of these folks, and we've seen them at the Garden at times, that they'll just say whatever they feel like they need to say. And it's like first of all, the player doesn't hear you. Secondly, you got kids around, be quiet, enjoy the ball game. You're going there, it's like, this isn't life and death. Now, yeah, is it the finals or playoffs? Very important games, but just hold yourself with some kind of class and accountability as opposed to going there and acting a fool. Like, so I just think I understand some of the players like, if I go up and pull a Steven Jackson, then I'm going to get suspended for the season, right? If I go up there and check these people, but, I just think that the league has to be, and I think they have tried to be more aware of some of these things that are going on, some of the statements that are made, the remarks. And I just think there's a natural, unfortunate jealousy of these guys for what they do, for what they, Draymond's an easy target. He talks a lot. He's had a lot of controversies. He's had a lot of issues, things like that. He's an easy target.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like, you're going to say something to him. You're not going to say something to other guys. You ain't going to, what are you going to do? How are you going to trash talk Giannis? Like, right. You know what I'm saying? He's done everything right. He's the most unstoppable player in the league. Like, what are you going to say? We're going to say to Luka. You know what I'm saying? But there's certain guys that target and that trigger those type of reactions. Russell Westbrook, Draymond, and, Kyrie Irving, obviously, our friend. And these guys are going to hear it from the fans. Yeah. And some of these fans, not all. Most of the fans, 95% of the fans conduct themselves perfectly. And then there's others who just want to be seen. It's like the person that goes to, like, I remember years ago when I was in college, a group of friends of mine knew this, a buddy of mine knew this like concert promoter. So he used to let us into these comedy competitions if we gave out flyers afterwards to the next show. So we would get free tickets to the show as long as we sit out there and handed out flyers. And some of these, I saw Jamie Foxx and some of these people that was younger, a lot Joe Torre, a lot of these good young rising comedians, right? And then, you go in and there was always, like, one of my boys always wanted to be the dude to heckle. And it's like, dude, you're not a comedian. Be quiet. Let the dude do his thing. Why are you heckling him? because he wanted to be heard. He got to be that guy that he wants people to laugh at him instead of the comedian. And it was just like, dude, be quiet. You're making yourself look dumb. Why are you trying to heckle? And it's just like, but there's people like that who you just gotta be heard. You just gotta have somebody, oh, you're so funny. Like, you're not making no money. The comedian, if they're making money, if you that funny, then go on tour. You try it, getting up there on the stage. Yeah. You know, and I just remember one of my friends was always that dude who felt like he had to heckle. And I'm like, dude, I hope you don't get mistake, because if he roasts you, you better take it.
See, that's what I would always be afraid of. That, you know what, he just might hear what you're saying and be like, fresh meat. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And they put the spotlight on you and he clowning you, right? You know, we also watched Def Comedy Jam. Don't sit in the front row and be quiet.
Right.
Don't bring no date that you ain't proud of, or don't bring. you better.
One of y'all gonna get clowned. One of y'all will get clowned.
Exactly. So I just think some of these people just want to be heard. They just want people to pay them, to notice and pay them attention.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's the thing. These players ain't got nothing to do with your desire to want to be heard because you weren't heard when you were a kid, or you feel like you want to make people laugh at you, or you want people to, like, to me, it's tacky, you know. And what do you think? I mean, what does the NBA do about this?
Well, I think the NBA is doing the best they can in this moment, and that is when a player realizes things are escalating in that direction. Have that player talk to the officials then talk to security then handles it. As much as Draymond Green, and I love trash talk, full disclosure, I absolutely love that shit. Love it. Draymond pushes that a bit to the extreme because when I think about guys who can trash talk, usually they have like one or two or three significantly discernible skills that set them apart. Like, I love hearing Rasheed Wallace talk trash because Rasheed could bust you. He could drop 25 points in like 10 minutes on you. I remember when they played Cleveland years ago, and Rasheed picked up a technical from official Jack Neese because Rasheed started laughing at Zydrunas Ilgauskas because he was busting him and stripping him and pinning his stuff on the glass and started laughing at him. So I'm all for that. But Draymond has a tendency to cross that line a little bit with the smack talk. But I love the fact that he had at least enough wherewithal to know that I need to be smarter than this dude in the stands, because at the end of the day, I have way more to lose than he does if I overreact. If I snap, I could lose 5, 10, 20. Hell, I might be done for the season. That's millions of dollars that's coming out of my pocket. He might have to go home early for one game and be back the next. So I like the way they're doing it now, but I do think that, and Gary, I think you touched on this, there really does seem to be a lack of respect for players from fans. And there's nothing wrong with booing for guys and trying to get in their head. But when you start like threatening cats' lives, that's a bit much. Particularly when you are like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows back, and he may be able to hear you, but you know damn well that whatever you're saying, you wouldn't say to his face. You know that, and that's not trying to make these players out to be any extra tough guys or anything like that. It's just sheer physics. He's 6'8", 260, conditions himself to work out every damn day. You are not 6'8". You are not 260. You are not built for that fight, literally or figuratively. So, I think to your point about folks looking for attention, that I think there's a lot of truth to that. And when you talk about, speaking of attention, the Milwaukee Bucks, they've been like right in that top 3, top 4 all season long. And now they got Middleton back. First 5 games out, they won 4 of them, including that beatdown they put on Golden State at the crib. Are you surprised that Milwaukee, that Khris Middleton it's almost, it's been a seamless reintegration on his part where they look like a lot of people thought they would look. And that's amazingly awesome with him back in the fold. Are you surprised how smooth it's been?
No, because I think they're a veteran club and they were used to playing without Middleton, and Middleton just kind of adds, to that flow, to that rhythm that they have. And I think that, they're going to be a threat. The Bucks are a team that, might be getting a little bit long in the tooth with like a Brooke Lopez and, George Hill and that type of thing. But I also think that, with Giannis and man, it's hard. They're going to be a tough team to beat. They're going to be a tough team to beat.
I agree.
And
I agree.
But also, they've had an interesting schedule. They've had a lot of home games. Okay, they're 20-7. I'm looking at their schedule. They lost at home to the Lakers. One at Charlotte when they didn't have anybody playing. One at Orlando. Beat Sacramento at home. One at Dallas. Lost at Houston with Giannis playing, and then beat Golden State. So you could say, they played Detroit twice. They played Oklahoma City twice already. They played San Antonio. They played, I don't say cupcakes, but they've had a favorable schedule so far. Yeah. Okay. Obviously, they started out 9-0. They lost at Atlanta. They lost at San Antonio. They lost to Atlanta again. They lost at Philadelphia. They lost at Chicago. And they lost to the Lakers, and they lost to Houston. So, they've lost to teams that haven't been that damn good. Lakers losing record, Houston losing record, Chicago losing record, Philadelphia around 500, Atlanta solid, San Antonio losing record, Atlanta solid. So, to me, they haven't played, they haven't played, to me, the schedule that could tell me, okay, they're like number one. I think the Celtics, on the other hand, have played, I think, a tougher schedule. So, and I'm not saying, you can't make your schedule. That's just how it is. But it'll be interesting to see how the Bucks do. The Bucks have had 16 games at home, and I'm looking here. That's the most in the NBA. Mm-hmm. They've had the most home games in the NBA. They've had 11 on the road. So it's be interesting to see. The Celtics, on the other hand, 16 games on the road, the most of any team in the NBA. So, obviously the Celtics are about to get all that back when they have this 7-game homestand. But the Bucks, I think, they're going to be good. They're going to be a factor. It'll be very interesting to see what happens when the Celtics and Bucks start playing each other. And I'll say that Christmas Day game. Because if you look at the East, it's 1-2 Milwaukee, and then Cleveland. And as much as we've seen the best of Cleveland when they play the Celtics, they're a team that's been good at home, bad on the road. 5-9 on the road. They've lost some really shaky games. They're only 17-11. Brooklyn, the same thing. I'm sorry, Sherrod. The Sixers, I don't know. The Knicks, the Hawks, the Pacers, the Raptors, the Heat. I don't look at them, either of them, as a contenders yet. The Heat lost at home to San Antonio. They're 4-9 away from Miami. They've had a home-heavy schedule. A lot of these teams are just, they're terrible on the road. Toronto, 3-11 on the road. That just isn't like the Raptors. Our friends in Washington, 3-10 on the road. The Magic and Hornets and Pistons, they're going to be terrible on the road. But you look at some of these teams, just bad. The Knicks, bad, 7-7 at home. They don't win at the Garden. Everybody is flawed except the Bucks and the Celtics, to me.
Yeah.
Now, would the Celtics want to face the Cavaliers in the playoffs? I think that'd be a very intense and competitive series. I think it's a bad matchup for them. Now, we'll see what happens when Robert Williams comes back, how he affects those bigs. But if I'm the Celtics, but I look at the East, and it's kind of a two-team, and we'll see if Cleveland Cleveland or Brooklyn or Philadelphia can emerge as that third team, because there's 4 games that separate 3 and 10, right? So I think if you look at the chase for the play-in, I think you got 12 teams for 10 spots. Washington, I'd give still them. They're 2 games back. Chicago's a game back. I don't think Orlando or Charlotte or Detroit, and we can talk about your Pistons losing Cade Cunningham for the season. They can't buy a break. Unfortunately, this was supposed to be the year I thought Detroit would really maybe come close to winning 40 games and be a competitive ball club with our friend Dwayne Casey, one of the good guys.
He's such a good dude. Such a good dude.
You hope ownership has patience with him through this time and the injuries and, the lack of development, like the Killian Hayes pick doesn't look so good now. And now you see Sadiq Bey might be on a trade block. And, it's like it seemed like, your friend, your Syracuse guy, Troy Weaver, was doing things right there. And it seemed like it was going to work out. And now you look and it's like, same old Pistons, unfortunately. But if you're I think the Celtics and the Bucks are the 1-2. That Christmas Day game will be fascinating because obviously they haven't matched up. Eastern Conference Final. I think it'll be interesting to see what Mazzulla does to try to defend Giannis. If Robert Williams is there, but I think those will be fascinating games. And I think those two are going to fight it out for the number 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're hands down the two best teams in the East. And when they do meet on Christmas Day, it will be not just the first time those two met this season, but the first time that I think two of the biggest X factors in the Eastern Conference, Khris Middleton and Robert Williams, will be part of their respective teams. And we can see what kind of impact can they have, not just being with their teammates, but in a game where they're facing arguably the next best team in the Eastern Conference. And I would argue and say probably the next best team in the NBA. I still feel the winner of the East is going to win it all this year. Before the season started, I thought the Celtics were going to win it all. And I haven't changed my position on that. Hasn't quite gone the way I thought it would. I figured they would have one of the better records in the East. I did not anticipate they would have the best record in the entire NBA association. But listen, they are killing it. And as you pointed out earlier, Gary, this week begins kind of the kind of payback, if you will, all them damn road games that you talked about, where they got Orlando in almost like a sort of kind of, but no way in hell is this a playoff series type of setup where Orlando's in town for games on Friday and Sunday. And obviously the Celtics will be expected to do well in both of those games and just kind of keep building off of the momentum that they had at the very end of that ridiculously long-ass road trip. Well, Gary, we did it, man. We made it through a show without Kwani. Kwani, who is Kwani anyway?
I don't know. I don't know the Kwani you speak of.
No, we miss our girl Kwani. She should be back with us next week. She had a couple of things she needed to take care of. I'm not mad about that. But again, before we go out of here, just another shout out to our good friends at Indeed.com and our newest sponsor, new kid on the block, Rocket Money. Shout out to them. And again, check out this our podcast on all your podcasting apps. We are there in the building. That's it, Gary. Thank you all for checking in the latest episode of the A-List Podcast. I'm Sherrod Blakely with Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe. We are out of here. Peace.